So we're here to talk through this cave puzzle by Walker Anderson. It has a clever logical theme that you'll encounter a few times during the solve in order to actually get through the whole thing logically and not intuitively. But before we sort of get to see the theme, let's at least mark some information in the grid that will help us really see what's going on. The first is just this obvious 2 clue, which is already fulfilled. Do the standard shading around it for the blackened ends, and then using the no checkerboard rule, we know that this cell and this cell also get shaded. This 2 has to use at least this cell or that cell in order for the 8 to successfully be part of a cave. Again, sort of the checkerboard rule, you can't have both of those cells be shaded black. So you can mark that in. These touching clues, where there's a larger digit, will always have one more option than the adjacent in the orthogonal direction. So if this goes up 1, this won't go up again. If this goes up 2, this goes up 1, stuff like that. So we'll just have to watch for it. The 3-4 is almost finished, so I often find it helpful to at least mark sort of where its extensions can go. Can do something similar down here, and I guess we can do something similar up here. Now we really have, I guess there's a little you can do around this 8 clue. You should recognize that if it comes up or if it goes to the right, it can't use the other cells. So if it did come up, it could take as many as 7 in this column. It can't touch to this clue. I'll even mark that in. So it has to use this cell here. If it comes to the right, can't use anything there. It can take as many as 6, 7. Again, it's going to need to take this 8th cell here. So that really doesn't do much, but it's a pretty traditional kind of cave thinking when you're near a pin spot like this with an either or choice. It's always worth visualizing. So this is about as far as I get using the standard deductions I tend to use. I guess I may see in this corner one more cell, and this is actually where for the logical path we need to see something different and unique about this puzzle. So the 5 has to connect with everything else and form a cave, but it's somewhat isolated in this corner now. It can't come all the way down this column. It would have too many cells as part of this group. So there's kind of a blocker for the cave in this direction. We need to recognize that this 3 can come to the left or come to the right, but not both, which means the cave also can't come through this clue to get anywhere. So with this path blocked, that path blocked, it has exactly one escape path. And this puzzle actually uses connectivity in a way that you typically don't have to do throughout a puzzle, but cave allows it, and so we actually see it here. Having this 5 now come through here, we have again sort of reach a point of connectivity. The cave can't get fully across this top section, so it's going to have to come into the grid like so. This 2 is a real blocker. You're not going to get through the 2. You can't get around the 2. You can actually deduce that this cell here must be part of the cave. If it were shaded, there's no way to get past this 2. And because of that, we can mark this cell, and from this cell we can see that the 3 doesn't come to the right. It comes to the left one. Mark these known deductions. See that the 5 needs to take one more cell to get far enough in this row. That comes down. We see how it finishes the 2. Mark all that in. This comes all the way down, finishes this 2 this way. Mark all that in. We can shade one more cell because we finished that clue. Can shade these 2 since we know I'll use it. Now let's see another way that Walker set up an escape into this grid, and it's going to come on this side. Now we see that there's essentially 2 clues up top that need to come somewhere through these rightmost columns connecting with these bottom clues. This 8th column is problematic because it has a potential blocker. You can't come all the way down to here, so we're going to have to get somewhere in the middle. But actually what's most interesting is that these 2 clues which work together, right now you can force to look like so, and these unshaded cells are going to have to move with each other. And what that actually means is we can look at a cell like this, and in the scenario where these extend down one more, this is going to be shaded black because the X will have come down. When these 2 are both up to this spot, shaded and shaded, we have a checkerboard avoidance rule, which again shades this cell. So in both potential states of these clues, this cell is shaded. Now we're even more blocked. We can't come down this path, so we need to come down this right side. And so what you can start to do is build a connectivity argument through the 4. Let's actually put the normal sort of x's on, and we sort of see, well, we've actually now set up a little cul-de-sac here. If you took this cell, you couldn't come to the left, couldn't come down. So again, for connectivity, we need to do something like take this cell. There's no other way for these to connect. Once we take this cell, we're starting to isolate these shaded pieces, so we can actually deduce that this top thing is shaded. That gives us this. Get to here. Now with this 3, we know that one of these 2 cells is used, but that will be its last cell, so we can shade these as impossible. And we get another escape situation. So we kind of have 2 ways to get from this corner of the grid into the center bottom. We could come along this path, but look at this 3 clue here. It's not going to give us enough room to come through that whole channel. So we have to come to the left through the 4. That's sort of necessary. Also, what we see, I mean, this clue has to connect to things, and if it can't come through here, this 3 has to at least use this cell. And so it's not just that the 4 comes to the left, the 4 also comes to the right, and this was pretty novel. And I enjoyed finding this on the path, because you don't see this too often in puzzles, but you can do logic like so. Start to get these steps forced. There are only 3 cells left to use this whole clue, so we have to shade those all in. Get another decision point. We need to connect this with the whole rest of the cave. If it comes to the left and finishes off the 3, you'll see that becomes a full end to the cave, so it's got to come this way. That's too much to use this cell, so we can obviously shade it in. This has 1 to take, and it can't take this one, be too many cells, so it comes up. The 8 needs 1 more, so it comes to the left. The 5 now has to take at least this cell. The checkerboard rule, typical in these puzzles, says we have to take this cell, which means we also take this cell because these clues work together. That gives us these as shaded. This 5th cell comes up, and for the whole cave to connect, we need 1 more connection there. And that finishes this puzzle logically. I'm not sure if the first time you solved, maybe you saw how this 5 in the corner has to escape, but that you have an escape situation here that becomes an escape situation here through this column. Have to think about these bottom clues coming out and connecting and all through this. It was really a clever solve and a great guest contribution for the week. So thanks, Walker, for giving it. Hope you learned something about cave puzzle solutions in general, and we'll see you again soon.